much for having me here today. Well, first of all, I'm Nil Homedes. I'm the director of the Decidim Free Software Association. It's a pleasure to be here today. So today I'm going to explain you a story about how we survive a funding crisis in Decidim. This is the structure of the session. We are going to go across a short introduction to Decidim, then explain the origin of that crisis, then talk about the sustainability plan that we designed, and finally we will review how is it going and what are the learnings and the main challenges of all this process. So yeah, first of all, a short introduction to the Decidim. Raise your hand who knows here what is the Decidim exactly? Just only one person? Okay, then we need to do that introduction, definitely. So yeah, the Decidim is a free software project. It's a digital platform for citizen participation. Using the Decidim, you can run any kind of participatory processes like participatory budgeting, strategic planning, citizens assemblies, all kind of participatory process. So the Decidim is this digital public infrastructure where all kinds of participation can happen and can be used by different types of organizations. So nowadays, more than 480 organizations around the world are using the Decidim, such as Barcelona City Council, that was the founder and the creator of the platform, but also we have New York City, we have the Brazilian federal government using at a national level, we have the European Commission who have been using the Decidim, for example, for the Conference of Europe, and it's still using it today. We have the city of Helsinki, some cities in France, in Japan, in South America, in Switzerland, and so on and so forth. And also we have some cooperatives, some civil society organizations using it. So we have presence in more than 30 countries nowadays. The license of the Decidim is an AGPL3. This is important also. I'm going to reflect a little bit on that during the talk because we need to have this into account when we talk about sustainability. And here you have like an infography of the community, okay? The red circle in the center is the Decidim Free Software Association. That is the non-profit foundation association that is the maintainer of the code base, okay? And around us, we have all kinds of organizations and people that are involved in the community, like developers, activists, hackers. We have universities, researchers, designers, all kinds of people that are around. And at the center of that community, the association that is the central actor of the project because it's maintaining the source code and it's the governance board of all this project. So the origin of that funding crisis, a little bit of history. The first version of the Decidim was released in 2017 by the Barcelona City Council because they need a platform to run a participatory process. It was born as a fork of Consul, okay? Because or due to a discussion between the different teams that were running those projects at the time in Madrid, Consul, and in Barcelona, Decidim, and I don't have time today to explain that, but Decidim was first a fork of Consul. Then it began more international. France entered the chat in 1 year later. And then in 2019, we created the Decidim Association. Once we created the Decidim Association, then we started to write some agreements of collaboration between different governments at that time, because at the beginning the project was hosted within the Barcelona City Council, okay? And then we decided to create this autonomous organization, that is the association, and then something very weird happened, that is that the City Council cede to the association the right to manage the source code, okay, to an independent organization. So then they recognize us as the central actor. Then they recognize the community as a central actor of the project. Then, once we signed those agreements of collaboration and about the governance of the code, in 2021, we received the first public grants, okay? Because at the beginning, the association has no money. And then at the time, we have received those 2 public grants, and then we were able to hire 2 workers. And then in 2022, the funding crisis happens. Barcelona City Council does not pay to us a grant that was due to us, so that gives us a negative balance of 50K. Why that happens? Because legal, political questions at that time inside the City Council. And that gives us to this funding crisis. So we realized that we should start to diversify our income sources and to be more resilient. So that leads to our sustainability plan. Then in 2022, we hired a consultant company called La Sobremesa. They are based in Mexico and the US mainly, and they work a lot with civil society organizations to help them to be more sustainable. So with them, we write this sustainability plan. The goal was to define a fundraising strategy, to ideate fundable projects, and for us, for the team, for the association, to have more knowledge on how the fundraising world works, because it was something really new for us. Then to build that sustainability plan, we make a diagnosis, we make a funders intelligence. That's a live database that we are still using, and using like in a quarterly base, where we scan and when we collect all the possible funders of our projects. And then we defined an action plan with concrete actions to different steps to follow to achieve this sustainability plan. So the needs at that time were to reduce the dependence on public funding and diversify our funding sources, to achieve a stable income in the medium or long term, with the main purpose of having a team that can give us more operational capacity, right? So with that, then we identify different sources of funding, public funding, what we were already receiving, direct public grants from those public organizations, then what we call private funds, and here we include philanthropy, we include research, we include EU-based funding. It's public, yeah, we know it, but it's not like this core public funding that we were receiving. So we are differentiating that. And then services, and then donations and partners. I will talk later about the services, because it's important to say that we are not providing any kind of services to the governments who are using the Decidim. I will talk about how we created an ecosystem of companies around us. So in that sustainability plan, we defined an ideal scenario. In 3 years, we should have more or less that percentage of distribution of incomes. Public funding, 30%, private funds, 30%, partners, 30%, and services, 10%. We defined also different growing scenarios. We defined in red, you can see like the optimistic scenario, and in blue, the realistic scenario. We will see later how is it going. So we defined that growing scenarios for the next years, and in the action plan, we define concrete actions to match that goals. The first one is the partnership policy. I'm going to talk about it. Also, we defined a donations campaign, and also we defined concrete actions to do fundraising work. I already talked about this funders database, funders intelligence, we call it. We started to dedicate time to scan open calls recurrently. We started to build relationships with funders, to call them, email them, try to be friends of them. And we start to dedicate time to create innovative or fundable projects. Okay, so, and also we started to enter to the EU funding world. That it can be a nightmare, but there's a lot of money there also, and you need to invest a lot of time to understand how it actually works. And also another key thing for us is, okay, let's start to build new alliances with governments beyond the Catalan governments, because we have a lot of governments around the world using our software, but we don't have like a close contact with them, and we should involve them in the maintenance of the project. So let's see how is it going. So we defined the partnership policy. What is the partnership policy? We have created an economy around us. We have more than 20 companies around the world providing Decidim services, and this economy generates around 3 million euros every year, more or less. So then, at that time, at 2022, we realized that there were a lot of money going, but we were not seeing anything of that. So we defined a partnership policy. It's voluntary. It's based on a voluntary base. So we cannot enforce those companies to pay us as the maintainers of the code because we don't want to change the license. And if they don't want to pay us, they can do it. They cannot pay to us. And the conditions were that they should pay the 3% of their yearly income revenue as a fee for maintenance. And they gain some advantages as public visibility and so on. So here is an infography of how this ecosystem works. We are the rectangle, and we are the maintainers of the code base of the Decidim, and then the service providers come and implement and customize for the government and final clients. So what we are trying to do is to create that path to contribute back to the commons. Right now we have 11 companies out of 20 who have agreed to pay that fee. This is a screenshot from our Open Collective page. The top one financial contributor is Open Source Politics, someone from one of the partners here. Open Source Politics is a huge company in France that they were mainly providing the Decidim services and creating a revenue of 1 million euros every year, something like that. So they started to paying us this 3%. And we have other companies like Octree, based in Switzerland, Pokecode, based in Barcelona, Code for Japan, based in Japan, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that was one of the actions. We set up an Open Collective page to manage all these donations. And the second action that we take, the fundraising work. Well, I first thought that fundraising work is tough, and yeah, most of the times you failed. I mean, you need to know that when you are writing projects, the percentage of successful is low. Here you can see from the last 2 years, we submitted 15 projects, 13 were refused, and 2 were accepted. Well, you need to try. I mean, we are always trying, and honestly, sometimes we even try in some calls that we see that it would be difficult for us to be funded. As an example, the recent accepted projects are an EU project, an Horizon, about more related to with the field of political participation, and another grant that we received from Fondation de France, that it's a philanthropic organization that they are funding a lot of open source projects and so on, and they give us money to invest in hiring a community coordinator, mainly, during 2 years. So that was like the perfect grant, the dreamed grant, to be honest. And the multipod project is more related to fund some of our roadmap through that project in the frame of how we improve participation in multilingual communities. Okay. Let's talk about public funding, because here I think that we have like a quite unique case, I would say. Public funding, how it works. Right now, we are receiving 4 public grants for core activities that are mainly maintenance and community work. This is a stable core funding for us and represents around 200,000 euros every year. We are receiving money from the Barcelona City Council, from the Catalan government, La Generalitat, from a network of local governments called Local Red, and from Diputació de Barcelona, that it's like a medium level of government between the local level and the regional level. So these 4 Catalan public administrations are funding us as a core grant. And then also at the same time, Barcelona City Council is investing yearly a lot of money on developing new features and the roadmap. But this money is invested through public tenders, and the companies that I've been talking about, those are the companies that receive that money. Okay, we are coordinating those public tenders. We are defining the stories, the user stories. We are doing all the design, all the code review, and so on. But the work, the development work, is mainly done by those companies. And this is the way of how all the public funding works in the Decidim. So here you can see that we are creating a new line from the cities, from the governments to the Decidim Association. But as you can see, for the moment, it has only been possible with Catalan public organizations. So we have a challenge here on how to get money from governments that are outside Spain. This is one of our challenges. So to tackle that challenge, we defined a government collaboration ladder. Okay, we defined 4 steps on how to involve governments on the maintenance of the Decidim. The first step is that there's no cost on it. You can, as a government, start participating in community events. Then the second step is that you can fund a roadmap feature. For some governments, it's much easier to fund, okay, I need to improve this specific feature of the platform, then I give you money to improve it. So if it is aligned with our roadmap, then we can receive money for that. The third step is to sign an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, that gives like a legal framework that finally could hypothetically give us to the fourth step, that it's funding core activities of the association, as this is happening with the Catalan institutions. Yeah, so let's review how it has been going. Yeah, this was the ideal distribution. So this is what actually happens during 2023 and 2024. You can see that at 2023, public funding were representing around 67%, partners around the 20%, and services around 10%. Then in 2024, all the work that we've been doing around fundraising generates almost 30% of these private funds, and we reduced a little bit the dependency on public grants. And in last year, 2025, it's pretty much the same. Public grants represent the 54%, so we are still reducing it a little bit and increasing the fundraising piece of work. In terms of the growing scenarios, we are between the realistic and the optimistic scenario. This is the yellow line that you can see, but are more close to the realistic scenario. And another thing that shows this growing of all the work that we've been doing is that at that time, when the funding crisis arrived, there were 2 people in the team that were Maite and Andres, and right now we are 7 people in the team, so we have accomplished part of the goals of that sustainability plan, so we are gaining more operational capacity. And yeah, just to close, some learnings and challenges of all this journey. Yeah, the challenges that we see is that, well, as you can see at the beginning of the story, the Decidim was a very local-based project created in Barcelona that was started to use by different cities, local cities in Catalonia, and then started to become a global project with France first, but then Helsinki, finally Brazil, New York, So that was a challenge for us, because then we have like a lot of petitions from different stakeholders and so on, and we need to answer those petitions and try to convince them at the same time to be involved in the community and be involved in the maintenance of the Decidim as a digital commons, right? So that leads us to the second challenge, that is one of the main, I would say, unsolved ones for the moment, that is, okay, how a non-profit based in Barcelona receive public money from organizations from other countries. Because the Brazilian government, we had like an MOU in place with them. We were there. We have a very good relationship. We are completely politically aligned with them. They want to give us money, but what they say to us is, okay, if the Brazilian government gives money to a Barcelona-based organization, we need to do that through approving a bill in the National Congress. So like, it's almost impossible. So yeah, an open question that we have not yet solved is how we should evolve our legal and financial structure. Because yeah, the easy answer might be just open an office in Brazil. Yeah, might be an answer, but this is costly for us, and you need to maintain it. Maybe the government changes in 1 year, and then you have the office in Brazil, and Bolsonaro is again in the government and shut down the Decidim project in Brazil, so that might not make sense. So that's something that's yet an open question, and I would say that here, as a suggestion, like these kind of organizations, like the Digital Public Goods Alliance, or even the UN, or the Sovereign Tech Agency, the European version, or whatever, could help us, projects like ours, on becoming a fiscal host and becoming the place where this money from outside our borders can be gathered and transferred to us. And another question that still remains open is how do we finance maintenance work? How we are doing it is mainly through those core grants that we can say with that money we are going to fix bugs, and that's okay for our funders. But as the project grows and grows and we are adding more new features, also the maintenance work grows, but not the core funding. So this is still like an open question for us. And learnings for other projects that are facing similar situation, I would say that it's better to grow in a sustainable way. For example, in European projects, we always try to be the smallest partner in the consortium. That might make no sense, maybe, but for us it makes, because if not, we are going to create a new dependency of European projects, and then you're becoming to be addicted to the European money wheel that never ends, and trapped there and writing longer projects to try to receive funds. So, okay, just diversify your income sources and try to grow in a sustainable way. So we are trying to grow maximum 2 new roles every year, because the question always is, okay, how you are going to sustain the salary of these new roles. Dedicate also actively to fundraising in a quarterly base. And also a challenge or learning is that submit projects that do not divert you a lot from your core mission, because funders always want to fund new shiny thing, like right now AI, 2 years ago, blockchain, 3 years ago, the metaverse, or whatever. But you need to be attached to your mission and to your product that mainly doesn't care about blockchain or AI, but sometimes also you need to submit a project with a little bit of AI that can help you to do something, but like there's always this balance when you are submitting projects. And as I said, we need to internationalize our legal and financial structure. And yeah, of course, we need a public agency for funding FLOSS in every country, Europe, or at a global level. I don't care. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Nil, for the lessons from your project. Questions, yes?
Thank you for your explanation. I'm wondering a bit about if the organizations that are using the product are actually paying for the product. And in your story, it gave me a bit of the impression that the integrators get money from those governments. And is that only for support, or is that also for using the product? And have you ever considered about becoming a bit more commercial in that point of view and sort of selling the product? Because I assume that the governments are willing to pay for a platform that is actually supporting some of their processes, right?
Yeah. I mean, how it works is explained here. Yeah, here. Yeah, so yeah, the service providers are generating revenue, are providing services for implementing and installing the Decidim on the client servers. Let's say you can do that. You can download the code in the Decidim and install it on the server that you want. And also, the service providers are making money from customizing the Decidim to the needs of the client. And also they are providing a kind of a consultancy service on terms of, okay, how to actually use the tool, because you need to learn a little bit how to design, how to go from the paper that I want to do a participatory budget to the platform, right? So that's the service that they are providing. This schema, honestly, was not intended. Like, it just happens. Because at the beginning, because the project was, at the beginning, inside a public administration as the Barcelona City Council. And then suddenly different providers start to appear. A company in France saw the code, saw the project, and say, hey, let's try this to implement in France. And just things started to happen. And then after a few years, then we say, okay, we have those providers. We don't want to compete with them. Let's only focus on our main mission, that it's maintaining the source code. And we don't need to care about providing these services. And also this, I would say that this in part explains the successful of Decidim, of like why Decidim has been adopted globally. Because, for example, in Japan, we have Code for Japan. These are local company that works there, that knows the people there. And it's very different that if I go from Barcelona to Japan and say, hey, I'm trying to sell you that product, No, it works the other way around. The people in Japan saw the code, saw the project, started to get interested, learn how to use the sim, learn how to install it, and then they started to build, to provide the services in their local context. So I would say that the other way around, the sim has never been able to arrive to Japan. But thanks to a local partner, the Decidim is now being used in Japan. And also, because, for example, in terms of translating some words of the Decidim platform, so translating the ontology of the Decidim, also you need to understand a little bit of your local context when you talk about participation, because, I don't know, in Barcelona, an assembly have a meaning that can be a bit different in Japan, and maybe the Japanese people know exactly how to translate that word. So yeah, I would say that it has some risks or some things that model can have some risks, but definitely has a lot of advantages and explain a lot the successful of the Decidim.
So thank you. So of your team of 7, how many persons are like full-time dedicated to keep the project afloat financially?
Mainly it's me. I mean, I'm the director and I'm like leading on strategic partnerships, writing the projects, scanning the open calls and so on. That's mainly my work, but I'm also part of the product team. So I would say that I do a lot of things, too much maybe, that I dedicate around 20% of my time annually to fundraising. But I also have some help from, for example, the product owner, because me and she, we work together on creating the projects and aligning the projects to the projects that we submit to the roadmap priorities that the product has.
Then thank you.
Thank you.
It was awesome.